Okay, there is nothing I can say to you to prepare you for our next speaker, except to help you observe that there are some people in this world who are dissatisfied with the status quo and want to use their own minds and hands to aggressively create a future that they pathologically imagine to already exist in their own minds. They are called entrepreneurs. And every once in a while, you meet a person whose natural and inevitable lifetime calling is to be exactly that, an unrelenting changer of the trajectory of history. And that's the best way I can describe our next speaker. Please help me welcome Peter Sage.
Thank you, my friend. Thank you. Whoa. Good afternoon, Acapulco. Okay, you guys have been here for a few days now. Yeah, you've been settled in, and I do have to ask the question before we get going, because I know it's after lunch. They've put me on the graveyard slot because they know I've got a little more energy than usual, and I'm always excited. For those that have met me, you know that. But the question I have to start with, guys, is, are you with me for the next hour? Yeah? Come on, are you with me for the next hour? Okay, because if you are, I promise you that the journey that we're going to take, if you allow it to, is going to have a profound impact on the person who leaves here afterwards, as opposed to the person that walked in. Because what I'm not about is information. Yeah, most people today are drowning in information, but they're starving for wisdom. And when we realize that transformation is the only thing that counts in a world of noise, then you really start to become a little more, you really start to be a little more dialed in on where you put your attention and what you allow in. So I'm very grateful for the next hour or so that we have this experience together, that you're going to allow me into your awareness, and I promise you I don't take that lightly. Now I'm going to take you over some concepts, I'm going to take you on a journey, I'm going to reveal some of the stuff in your own minds that is going to be confronting and challenging for some of you. I make no apologies for that. And if you disagree with some of the things I'm going to share, then that's okay, because that's what makes things happen. But I can promise you, I went after the information I'm going to share with you today with an absolute passion. And it really was answering the question, why is it? Why do so many people with so much potential that are born in a time in human history that our ancestors have dreamed about never really get the bat off the shoulder and take a swing at life? And why is it you can see other people that have absolutely no resources? They come from, against all of the odds, but they go out and create magic that the rest of us look at and think, wow, why is that? And that's really what I want to look into today. Now, I'll also start by saying this, that when Jeff first asked me to come and speak here, he says, oh, come and speak at the Anarchapulco conference, to a big room full of anarchists. I hadn't really been into the anarchist kind of philosophy, because my understanding at that time is I thought that anarchists were the kind of people you see at the G7 summit throwing barriers. And so I was a little hesitant to accept the invitation, to be fair. What kind of security detail am I going to have? No. But I've got to say, guys, coming here and having had so many conversations and seeing you guys and interacting over the last several days, and some of you that I managed to speak to before at the TDV summit as well, I have never met a more progressive, forward-thinking, high-consciousness group of people in my life. And I just want to say I'm exceptionally honored to be here. Thank you. My usual tribe that I talk to are entrepreneurs. And entrepreneurs are free thinkers, and you guys are exactly the same. You're free thinkers, you're just going against a different level of status quo. Many of you are entrepreneurs in your own right as well. But for me, how I started out is, I dropped out of school at 16. I've got no formal qualifications. I couldn't spell PhD. And for me, I realized that school essentially taught you just two things. It taught you how to pass tests and work for somebody else. And neither of those were going to be on my agenda. So I got out of there like a rat up a drain pipe as fast as I could, and I decided to go out in the world and really try to make my own way. And I had really nothing. I came from a working class parents. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. And I just started my first business at 17. I tried, failed many times, and since that, I think there's been 25, 26 companies somewhere around there. Yeah, some have failed majestically. Yeah, some have wiped me out completely. Yeah, some have been international global success stories, and some really, if I'm honest, should have stayed ideas when I was drunk. Yeah, and everything in between. But through that journey, some of the things, especially in the early days, became very apparent. And that is that most people spend their entire life chasing success when what they really should be chasing is fulfillment. And the two are very different. And I noticed, especially in my early 20s, where I was working 130 to 133 hours a week, doing what I was called chasing the more. Don't worry, when I get my first million, I'll be great. So guess what? I make my first million, and guess what? Am I still happy? No, not happy yet. Why? Because now I need to make a second million in case I lose the first. Oh, when I get my first Ferrari, then I'll have made it, and everyone will be happy for me. That was a big lesson. No, everybody hates me, right? And I'm still unfulfilled because I'm trying to validate myself externally when you can only ever validate yourself internally. And what I noticed was that many people are suffering from what I call the curse of the white rabbit. Go, ooh. Oh, come on. Ooh, there you go. It sounds like a Stephen King novel. No, the curse of the white rabbit. Let me explain. How many people here are familiar with like a dog track? Yeah, where the greyhounds run around the track, and people bet on the dog tracks. Yep. So, quick question for you guys. Do the dogs ever catch the rabbit? No. Why not? Rabbit's too fast. What if the dogs run super fast? Do they ever catch the rabbit? What if it has a really good trainer? What if it has a better diet than the other dogs? Sleeps in a better kennel? Is any of that stuff going to make a difference to whether the greyhound catches the mechanical rabbit or not? No, not at all. Why? It's a rigged game. Yeah, who said that? Yeah. So, what's your name? Say again? Oldie? Andre. I like to reward participation. So if you'd like to come forward, I'd like to give you a copy of my latest book, The Inside Track. On that, let's say thank you for interacting here and not falling asleep after lunch. Give him a hand. Thank you. And yes, it's a rigged game. In other words, the dog, no matter how fast the dog runs, it will never, ever catch the rabbit. Now, we get that. We understand that. But what's that got to do with ourselves in terms of the game that we're playing? Well, unfortunately, most of us are trying to catch the rabbit of fulfillment by running on the track of achievement. I'm going to say that again. Most of us are trying to catch the rabbit of fulfillment by running on the track of achievement. And unfortunately, the game is rigged where that will never happen. Yeah. I've worked with people that are worth $700 million that are miserable as hell because they're not a billionaire yet. It never ends. So we have to look at the game slightly differently. And can you imagine? Yeah, one of the greyhounds gets to the end of the race and it says to its other greyhound friends, so you know something? I've run 3 races this week. I've won 2 of them. Still never caught that damn rabbit. I quit. Yeah, that's it. I'm done. No. What state are the dogs in at the end of the race? They're happy. They're ecstatic. Have you seen them? They're alive. Why? They got to do what they were born to do. They're born to run. See, entrepreneurs are born to build businesses. That's what we do. But if we're linking our happiness to getting what we think is at the end of that, then we're screwed. Because you cannot ever catch the rabbit of fulfillment by running on the track of achievement. And have you noticed, whenever you catch the rabbit that you think you're currently chasing, how long does it make you happy for? Moment, a few days, week, and then what happens? We crash. But then guess what happens? We have an idea. Oh, maybe it's another rabbit that I need to chase. And that little white fluffy tail comes out again and we go after the game. And sometimes we're like, no, you can't convince me of that. I just know that as soon as I have enough money to solve all my problems, then I'll be happy. And that if I've just got to close this next deal, and that little white fluffy tail's like 2 inches from your nose. Have you noticed that? It's like, let me just get it. All right, I've got news for you. It's never going to happen. The game is rigged so that it's never going to happen. And as soon as we start to come to terms with that, we can start to play a different game where we can experience fulfillment without linking our self-worth to our net worth, which is the biggest mistake that most people make due to indoctrination from the media and everything else. So how do you break the curse of the white rabbit? Very simple. You come to the eventual realization, my friends, that you already are that which you seek. Let you sit with that one for a minute. You already are that which you seek. No, I just need to make my next mortgage payment, pay off my house, make sure the kids never go get in trouble, and then I'll be happy. No. What you're saying is you've set up a whole bunch of rules around what has to happen in order for you to give yourself permission to validate yourself as a parent, or as a business person, or as a homeowner. And until those rules happen, you're going to choose not to be happy. Everybody follow that? What kind of operating system is that? Now, that doesn't mean to say that we go into apathy. That doesn't mean to say that we don't have desires. As I said, greyhounds are born to run. Go do what you love. Go chase what you need to chase. Go work where you need to work if that's what you need to do. But don't do it to validate yourself or try to get out of the maze or thinking at the end of some magical rainbow that it's all going to be great and you'll be happy. Because the only place in the universe that time means anything is in the mind of a human, and the only time you could ever be happy is when. Now, so why would you want to be happy not now? So that's the question. So how do you shift gears along that? Well, I'll share with you one of the most profound questions that Einstein said. He said, or one of the most profound statements, sorry. He said that you cannot solve a problem at the same level of thinking or consciousness that created the problem. Anybody remember that quote? Yeah? Beautiful quote, but most people don't understand what it means. So I want to give you a bit of a framework today that you can leave with that'll allow you to make sense of something that a lot of people talk about that very few people understand. And that's the incredible 13-letter word called consciousness. See, if we go into biology reduces consciousness to a byproduct of brain function. And unfortunately, that hypothesis has never and will never be proved because the brain doesn't produce consciousness any more than a television produces programs or a radio produces music. That's just not how it happens. On the other side of the spectrum, we have the ultra-esoteric aspect where consciousness is this nebulous sort of esoteric level of connection to the divine, and we all sing around and love each other and everything else. And while that's infinitely better than slicing and dicing frogs in biology, it still doesn't give somebody a practical framework for understanding what is essentially our experience of life. Because I'll tell you right now, guys, if you've not yet figured it out, the only thing that you can do in this lifetime, the only thing, is experience. In fact, I'll even go so far as to say the only thing that you can experience is the act of experiencing. Everything else is noise and story in the outside world or in the mental construct. Do you follow me? Everything else is not. I don't care what you've got going on in the outer world. That's just noise that you're interpreting in order to validate how you experience life. Two men sat behind prison bars. One saw mud, the other saw stars. See, the condition is identical, but how you choose to perceive what happens is the ultimate governing factor as to how you interact and live your life or experience this reality. So if Einstein said that you cannot solve a problem at the same level of thinking that created the problem, how do we navigate that? Well, anyone here yesterday saw Sasha Daygame's presentation? Yeah, a few of you, brilliant. Great presentation. And what he outlined on the screen was, in fact, here he is. Hey, Sash. Yeah. What he outlined on the screen was a delineated level of a map of consciousness from the late, great Dr. David Hawkins that wrote the incredible book Power versus Force. And that is a little well, it's a deep dive into understanding levels of consciousness, but it's 16 levels, and the brain tends to count, 1, 2, 3, 4, too many. So I want to chunk down that model into something that most of us here will be able to grasp, if you'll permit me. And this will answer a lot of questions about how you interact with people. It'll answer a lot of questions as to why your kids are the way they are, why the person who you live next door to at home is the way that they are, why you are the way you are in certain situations. And it's a very easy framework, but if you allow me to share it with you, there's a lot of wisdom there that I think will allow you some practical application when you leave here, and that's really my goal today. So, if we have a situation where the lowest level of consciousness, I want to label that because the mind works in labels, is what I call the level of to me. And to me kind of works this way. Well, I'd have everything that I want. Yeah, I'd have the partner of my dreams. I'd have the job of my dreams. I'd have the house that I want. But you know something? Everything happens to me. It's the excuse mentality. It is the victim mentality. It is sitting outside the game of life on the sidelines, blaming everything inside the game as to why it's not going your way. Now, the to me mentality is a really sucky place to live. Anybody found that out? Yeah. If you're in to me, I've got news for you. Life is going to give you feedback that that's not why you're here. And so, what's the next level? The next level of consciousness is where we realize that instead of standing on the side of the river complaining at the temperature and that the magnificent cruise ship with a first-class ticket hasn't come along and picked us up yet, and that our life owes us a living, we think, something, this ain't working. I'm going to get in the river, I'm going to set my goal, I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to swim. Because if life is going to happen, it's going to happen by me. And by me is the next level of consciousness. Now, by me is what's typically termed as the achiever mode, or the achiever mentality. And it is a lot better and is a lot more functional than to me. To me, victim mode, life's going to keep giving you shit. By me, get out there, make it happen. And so you start to carve your way out of into life. Now, there's another level above that, because I can promise you, by me, while it's far more superior to me as an experience of life, has anybody noticed it's a little bit exhausting? Right? Yeah, getting in by me is like swimming upstream against the current, but I'm going to do it. There's a lot of willpower involved. There's a lot of gritting the teeth, elbowing your way through the crowd. I'm going to make it, and it's hard work. But if you look at some of the greatest people in history, some of the greatest achievers who understood and cracked the code of the next level is what I call through me, where life flows through you. They didn't really have that going on. For them, it was effortless. You take Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in the world, one of the world's first billionaires in the 1800s. Figure that out in today's inflation. He was a steel magnate, Scottish guy. Got to the office at 10 o'clock in the morning. Took an hour's lunch, went home at 4, didn't work weekends. Took 3 months off every year and went to Scotland, ran one of the biggest companies in the world. Without faxes, emails, cell phones. Why? He understood how through me was. He was part of one of the secret societies, he was part of the Brotherhood, and a lot of the secret societies that have come through history are really guardians of the knowledge of how to work and get to a place of through me rather than keeping the masses and the crowd in to me and by me. Kind of what Sasha was saying yesterday. Does that make sense? So there is another level above to me, and that's really where the spiritual masters arrived at and taught from, and that's the level of what I call as me. And as me is where you see yourself in each other. Yeah, you see yourself in the stage. You see yourself in the tree. There's no separation. Maybe in deep states of meditation or on plant medicine journeys, some of us have experienced moments of as me. But it's not really a state that we live in, and I assert that if we're here to learn and grow, if you reach the level of as me, you've kind of qualified here, and you don't need to be here anymore, so expect a bus to come along and take you out of the game. So the question then is this: what has to happen for us to go through those levels? What has to happen for us to go from to me to by me, from by me to through me, or through me to as me? Because if we have a little bit of understanding and conceptual awareness around that, maybe we can do something about it and not get trapped. Would that be useful to know? Still with me, guys? Cool. So, Save your applause for the next speaker. It's all good. So what do you have to do to get out of to me and get into by me? There's something you got to give up, and there's something you have to replace it with. What do you think you got to give up to get out of to me? First thing. Fear is a byproduct of living there, and fear will certainly put you there as well. But what have you got to give up? Blame. I promise you guys, blame doesn't work at any level. And when I say at any level, I'm talking about you don't make excuses for gradients of blame. Well, I was sat at the stoplight and I was doing well, and that idiot behind me is the one that hit me. If you don't take personal responsibility for everything that happens in your life, you're going to pick and choose and cherry pick your way from to me to by me, and it doesn't work that way. Does that make sense? All right, first part of professional growth. If you want to get out of to me, give up blame and replace it with personal responsibility. If you can do those two things, the doorway opens and you can raise your consciousness to a different level. But as I said, by me is exhausting. By me takes a lot of effort. What do you have to do you think, to get into through me? Because that's the sweet spot, guys. That's what I spend my life teaching. This is what, I talk about the stress-proof professional. Yeah, and what I do is I really help people get from the by me to the through me level, because that's the journey that I took. Most of personal growth, most of personal development is focused on getting people from to me to by me. Have you noticed that? All of the motivation. Get your thumb out of your ass, get off the couch, set goals, go get them, cowboy, you can do it. It's all about, stop being a victim, take responsibility, go live the life that you want to live, go carve it out of the tree. That's 95% of personal growth. Very few people are talking about how to get from by me to through me. But one of the first things one has to give up if you want to make that transition. Any ideas? Control. I wouldn't say control itself, although that's almost bang on. I would say give up the need for control. Two are different. Any control freaks in the room that just had a heart attack? Okay, yep, I'm with you. So giving up the need for control. Now, why would you give up the need for control? It comes down to another one of Einstein's most famous questions. He said, the most important, not the second most important, not the third, not if you're bored, ask this on a Sunday. No, the most important question a person can ask in their lifetime is, do I or do I not live in a friendly universe? Think about that. It's one of the smartest people in recorded history. Because the answer to that question is binary. And that leads to two very different lives, my friend. If you believe you live in a hostile universe, you are going to come from a default fear-based mentality. Why? Because everything out there is trying to get me. Everything with teeth can kill me. I'm separate from. I'm disassociated. That's the government indoctrination. Right? That's the Darwinian mentality. Survival of the fittest. That's a by-me way of living. But if you believe that you live in a friendly universe, you look at life through very different experience lenses. See, me personally, I'm what they call an inverse paranoid. I secretly believe that the whole universe is involved in a hidden conspiracy to make me happy and successful. Right? And that's, pick one, right? So you will only be able to give up the need for control if you don't trust something else. So giving up the need for control and replacing it with trust, faith, knowing, and the three are different. Belief in something, a belief is nothing more, my friends, than a feeling of certainty. That's all a belief is. How fast can beliefs change? In a heartbeat. Faith is really a belief in something that you don't have references for. See, most people have beliefs based upon references, either themselves or other people's. If I've got belief that I can start any business for no money from scratch because I've got many references of being able to do it. But other people that have never been in business before don't have that reference, they don't have that belief. Does that make sense? I've put probably 10, 15,000 people in my life across the firewalks. I've been teaching firewalks for many years. Firewalk is nothing more than a metaphor. It's about getting to the end of that fire and looking around and saying, wow, I just walked on fire and I didn't believe that I could. What else am I not doing in my life just because I didn't believe it? Do you believe that you chose your parents? What would happen if that was a belief? So if you're able to give up the need for control because you believe in something better or believe in something bigger than you, and I think we can all agree, we're all over 21, most of us here anyway, or have higher consciousness, that there's something a little smarter than us that's running the game. Why? Because I don't have to set my iPhone alarm at 4 o'clock in the morning to remind myself to beat my heart. Something takes care of that for me. Isn't that cool? There's an intelligence there. There's an intrinsic design of intelligence that runs this game. And if you believe it's benevolent rather than malevolent, you will live two very different lives. And you'll be able to give up the need for control and replace it with trust, faith, or knowing. See, faith is also the flip side to the coin of doubt. That's why faith isn't really, it doesn't have a lot of longevity for most people. Because if your doubts become bigger than your faith, you'll stop believing. If your faith remains bigger than your doubts, you will. But that's not a guarantee. So knowing is different. Knowing is a sense of, if I was to, I've got anything on here. If I was to take this top of this water, if I was to let it go, I don't believe that it'll hit the stage. I don't have faith it'll hit the stage. I know it'll hit the stage. That sense of certainty. If you had that same sense of certainty that the universe was on your side and had your back, how would you walk out of the door today? Right? Probably wouldn't be as much in by me. You stop trying to control everything. In fact, I'll give you a quick demonstration. Here's how most people are when it comes to living life in certainty. Right? I don't know if you've got the camera on that. Yes, you have. Right, so this is, we'll use a business or a money reference because people can relate to that. So here we are. You find an investment or someone gives you an opportunity and you're a little tentative. Nowhere in nature is tentative rewarded, by the way. Tentative is no power. And what you do, you get a little bit of, you ask to invest in something, and here's an opportunity. So you get your liquid capital, and you're like, oh, well, shall I do it, shall I not? And what do? We ask all the people that are not qualified to give us an opinion, right? And we say, oh, shall I, shall I? Well, maybe I'll just put a little bit in. Oh, there we go, that's enough. Now, is that how you play the game of life? Well, maybe. Should we just try for a little bit for a baby? Yeah, that doesn't work. Right? So anyway, you get a little bit more comfortable, and then you start to put a little bit more in. Yeah, and it's like, okay, yeah, I'm getting a little bit more certainty now. Yeah, moving forward. Yeah, it looks okay. I feel safe. Right, put a little bit more in. Right, and all of that stuff. And why are we tentative in most of the things we do? Because we fear that if life turns upside down, everything will fall out. And guess what? Guys, it never does. Right? You have to come to understand that a lot of the time, right? In fact, it doesn't matter what I'm going to say for a minute now, because you're just wondering how the hell I did that, right? Right? But no, you've got to understand that faith and knowing will take you on a different path to trying to control everything in your life. There is no certainty in life. Apart from consciousness is immortal. Case closed. Everything else, deal with it. Right? See, the tree doesn't stand there worrying if it's going to get blown down by a storm tomorrow. Just deals with what happens. But we also know that the strongest trees grow in the strongest winds, not the best soil. So if we're here to learn and grow, I don't mean physically. We don't get to choose that. It's part of the rule set. I'm on about emotionally, spiritually. If we're here to grow up, then start praying for some strong winds and don't bitch about them when they show up. And if you can let go of the need for control and replace that with trust, faith, or knowing in something bigger than us, doors start opening that would never open before. Has anyone noticed that, by the way? As soon as we let go of control, say, I just give up on that, forget it. And then it happens. Anyone notice that? Yeah? Oh, I'm never going to find all these girls in bars, whatever. Forget it. I'm just going to go home and be single for the rest of my life. And you meet somebody on the bus going home that turns out to be your soulmate. It's just as soon as we lower the importance, as soon as we give up the need for control, solutions start presenting themselves. That's more about living in through me. Now, to get into ASME, what have you got to give up and what have you got to replace it with? Well, to get into ASME, the one thing that we need to give up is the illusion of separateness. The illusion of separateness. There's not a credible scientist on this planet right now that hasn't demonstrated in a lab in quantum physics that everything is connected instantaneously to everything else. We know that. I'll give you an analogy to help put that together. Yeah, imagine I had like a saucer of milk here, and my hand was underneath, Yeah, and I put my fingers up, but you could only see the tops of my fingers coming through the milk. The illusion would be that they're all separate. Unless we take the milk away and we start to see that everything's connected. You know, I had a chat with a gentleman the other day, and I gave him an analogy of, you know, if you and I were to meet in the street, and let's say we were two different colors. You know, we're from so many different nations here. You know, we were to meet on the street, you know, and somebody there is dark skin, I'm light skin. Yeah, I'm working on trying to get darker out there at the minute. But let's just say, you know, for now, we're dark skin and light skin. Both born at different times. Both going to die at different times, most likely. Both have different paths to walk in life. When we meet and have that conversation, there'd be a sense of individuation about us. Would you agree? But if you go to the human body, you go to the bloodstream, you take two different blood cells, red blood cell and a white blood cell. Both different colors. Both born at different times. Both have different paths in life, different journeys, most likely going to die at different times. Now, if they meet each other in the bloodstream, they've both got different jobs to do. Red blood cell transports hemoglobin from the lungs around the body into the heart. White blood cell goes and finds bacteria, lymphocytes, dumps it into the lymph. So these two blood cells would meet, and they would have a complete different sense of identity about who they were. What if you and I were just individual blood cells in the universal body of consciousness? How would we see each other when we met in the street there, regardless of what color we were? What kind of conversations would we have? Would we judge each other? Would we argue with each other? Would we impose our own model of the world onto somebody else's model of the world in order to try to validate our own sense of certainty about it? Or would we start to understand that maybe there's a bigger game in town here? And we raise our consciousness. So if we give up the illusion of certainty, what do you have to replace that with in order to get to ASME? No, there's only one thing. Unconditional love. Unconditional love. Now, I personally believe that we're here as a purpose in life to walk that path. And that's not just anecdotal. Yeah, that's not just my own model of the world. I'll share some of the reasoning. And again, I've got no right to impose my thoughts or views on you guys whatsoever. My predominant job here today is to do nothing more than hold up a mirror so that you guys can see your own greatness. Because sometimes that mirror gets a little foggy. And if I can wipe away some of that and allow you to believe and see some of the potential and the genius and the incredible heart that you guys have, you're the ones that will go out and create an impact in your community. I just happen to be a little voice piece that's at the front of the stage today in my world. So why is love the biggest answer? Not just because John Lennon said so. If you take 400 million years of fossil records, you can see that there is a pattern. We can spot patterns. We can recognize patterns. And the pattern of evolution, it seems to have a mandate. And that mandate for evolution is to continually evolve into higher forms of complexity. Would you agree? If you take an amoeba over here, single cell, versus 50 plus trillion to 100 trillion cells in the human body, some of us more than others, there's a lot more complexity that goes on here than in an amoeba. Now, if you take 50 trillion amoebas and one food source, what do you got? War. Right? Whereas if you take a human body and one food source, what have you got? Do you have the lungs and the liver start ganging up against the kidneys and the spleen? Because they want more ATP out of the food that's digested? How long would you be living in that scenario? Not going to happen, right? So what is required for complexity to work? Cooperation. Cooperation. Higher levels of complexity require higher levels of cooperation. Would you agree? Now, if you extrapolate the word cooperation on a timeline out, you kind of hit one destination, guys. We call it love. So I think that the purpose of life itself is to learn how to love. That's why we're here. We're here to become love machines. How cool is that? But that's not the reality for so many people, because they're still living in fear because they haven't answered the question about in a friendly universe or not. So they default to the media indoctrinated mindset of being scared and fear-driven. So if we can get to a point where we understand that we're here to grow up, again, not physically, we don't get to choose that. I don't care how many creams you buy, I don't care how many pills you take, you can maybe have an impact on that, but at some point, you're going to get old. Does that make sense? But growing up emotionally is a choice. Growing up spiritually is a choice. There are a lot of emotional teenagers running around in adult bodies. Have you noticed that? And so that's why I love being here amongst you guys. Yeah, high level consciousness, high thinking. So what's part of the journey? Well, there's a couple of things, a couple of really big demarcation points in the journey and the evolution and the maturity and the maturation of the human psyche. One of those, and I think it's a critical point, is the time where we finally become okay not being liked. We should teach that to kids before they leave school, should we not? You know? When you can finally become okay not being liked. And I think the best masterclass of that we've had so far at this conference was David Icke, would you believe? Would you agree? Yeah? What was his response? Yeah, I'm sorry if I've not got around to offending you yet, but give me time, you know? Yeah, love that. But if you can be okay not being liked, what it does, it opens up the door to authenticity, which paradoxically leads more people to liking you, by the way. But here's why most people don't do that. Because they're trapped in a substance, a sticky, nasty, horrible substance that most people spend their entire life swimming in. I call it goop. G-O-O-P, the good opinion of other people. And if you spend any of your life living in goop, I've got news. It's going to be a bad place to stay. And it's a ghost, my friends. Let me explain. We all star in a movie called The Movie of Our Life. You're all the star of your own movie. Have you figured that out? Anyone still thinks they're a film extra in somebody else's movie? We have to talk. All right? And we walk around as the star in our movie because we're in every single scene of our movie. However, the challenge is this. Because we're the star, by definition, what's everybody else in our movie? Either one of two things. Either a supporting cast, maybe, husband, wife, spouse, boss. But 99% of people in your movie are nothing more than what? Film extras. And here's where the challenge lies. We walk around as the star of our movie, thinking that everybody else sees us as the star of our movie. Well, they don't, because they're starring in a different movie, aren't they? What movie are they starring in? Selfish bastards. Which means, by definition, we're only one of two things in their movie. What? Maybe a supporting cast, but 99.9% of the people you ever meet in your life, as soon as you walk out of their scene as a film extra, you don't exist in their movie anymore. Not mentally. So if I could get you to tattoo one phrase on the inside of your eyelids for today to be able to get out of goop, it would be this, my friends. Please understand that most people don't care enough about you to bother to give an opinion, to bother to give a judgment. Why? Because they're too busy being worried about what they think you're thinking of them. Does that make sense? You know? And as soon as you own that awareness here, not just intellectually, as soon as you own that awareness, life changes. Now I don't care what anybody else thinks. In fact, you know something? Yeah, write this one down. Everybody else's opinion of me is none of my damn business. And when we live from that place, we have authenticity to express ourselves and freedom. And how you express yourself, very simple. Depends on your level of consciousness. That's it. Low level of consciousness people are going to express themselves from that perspective. And once you understand that, you get it. It's not better or worse, guys. It's just how far along the journey are they? And for some people, it ain't this lifetime. Some people, unfortunately, are going to have to trip over and hit their head on the sidewalk in order to learn how to tie their laces. It's just part of the game. And so the second really big journey in the human experience, the next big jump in terms of raising our game, is when we come to the realization that life is a growth-centric experience, not a comfort-centric experience. When you know that life is growth-centric, you start to see challenges in a different way. Here's how most people are in life. They don't know that they're in the gym. They don't know that they're here to grow and contribute, which is the two laws that govern nature. Everything in nature grows and contributes or is taken out of the food chain. And if we think we're different, we're in Disneyland. So if we suddenly come to a place where we realize life's a growth-centric experience, and therefore, in order to grow, we need to have challenge, do we not? How do muscles grow in a gym? Through challenge. But if you don't know that, and you think you live in a hostile universe, you're always trying to hide into a comfort zone. So you're in the gym of life, and that personal trainer comes along, you're going to say, keep out of the way. You're hiding behind the treadmill, hoping he doesn't see you. But if you know that you're an athlete, and you were born to come here to get the gold medal, to run the race of life and get to the end, to express the highest level of your own potential, you're going to see those workouts very differently, are you not? Because if you see your challenges right now and your problems from the perspective of the muscle fiber, and you're on that last burning rep, you're going to start having a conversation by saying, why is this happening to me? Please, send messages to the brain, pain signals, now, stop, what are you doing? You're destroying me, stop. But if you see it from the mindset of the athlete, you're quite proud of trying to bust out that last rep and can't lift your arms for an hour. When you realize life is your personal trainer, if you hired a good personal trainer in the gym and you weren't throwing up in 30 minutes, you want your money back, right? So seeing life as a growth-centric experience is a massive step forward in human consciousness, because that's why we're here to grow, so that we can contribute more of who we are to the world and give our gifts. Oh, what have I got to give? Right, well, start asking better questions. Yeah? How can I serve? How can I become the best version of myself and then allow whatever presents itself for me to be able to demonstrate that? See, most people, unfortunately, are too much afraid of certainty. That's why I say my normal tribe of entrepreneurs, if you want one of the highest characteristics of entrepreneurs, it's the ability to handle uncertainty. Now, I had a situation where I learned a lot about certainty in a 60-second experience. Would you like me to share it with you? Yeah? Still with me, guys, at the back? Excellent. So, I've got a quick question to ask. How many people here, and you seem a pretty crazy bunch, have ever jumped out of a perfectly good moving airplane? I'm in the right room, look at that. Brilliant. Okay, most of us that are on drugs, got it. Okay, so yes, part of my passion as a youngster was I wanted to skydive. And I was born in England, which means I didn't see the sun until I was 12. And therefore you can't really jump. So as soon as I was old enough and I was running my businesses, and I went over to America, I went to Florida. My home drop zone was a place called Lake Wales, just south of Orlando. And I thought, I'm going to go get my license. So I flew to Florida, I booked a week out, and I stood there, and I thought it's quite easy to do skydiving because you jump out of an airplane, you pull a cord, and gravity does the work. Right? Little did I know. So what actually happened was I get there, and instead of getting into an aircraft, I get into a classroom. And I told you, I dropped out of school at 16. I'm not book smart. And so I get 8 hours of academic ground training that fried my brain. I mean, literally everything about all your equipment, what it does, how it works, what happens if it goes wrong, plane exit entry procedures, aerodynamics, wind patterns, landing drills, all of that stuff, hand signals in the air, overwhelming. And the challenge with most of us is that the emotional route is that overwhelm leads to confusion, which leads to inaction. In other words, we're so desperate to try to get more that we learn so much, we do what? Nothing. Anyway, so I've got 8 hours of brain fry. I want to get back to the hotel just to review my notes. And next minute, my instructor comes running in. He says, hey, Pete, guess what? Stop. He says, we've got one slot left on the last jump of the day. It's the sunset load. We're on it. All right? Life will sometimes, pull you in the right place when you don't want to go. Anyway, I put on my jumpsuit. I put on my rig. We got on the airplane. And on your first jump in skydiving, you have 2 instructors. It's not a tandem where they're attached. It's a solo jump, but they jump out at the same time. They fall either side, and they give you signals. And I guess if you forget to pull your cord, they remind you. So here I am, and I'm sitting on the plane. I'm looking around. I've got all these advanced skydivers. And I look over, and there's one other guy who's also on his first jump with his 2 instructors. And he's over here, and he's sitting like this. I don't think he's breathing. Anyway, I'm watching this, and the engines kick in, we hurtle down the runway, we take off, we start circling up to altitude. We get to about 12,000 feet, a couple of miles above the clouds. and the red light comes on. And all of a sudden, wow, what happens? Well, these skydivers all get excited and they all start doing kit checks and tapping each other on the shoulder. And then all of a sudden, the green light comes on, the door opens, this icy blast comes in, and they're off. And they get up and they start going to the door and they're jumping out and backflip, somersault, high five, boom, gone into the abyss. Crazy bunch. And there's just me and this other guy and our 2 instructors left each in the plane. Anyway, he's nearest the door, so he's going first, and I'm happy with that. He gets up and his whole physiology's down. He's going to the door like this, like dead man walking. And he looks out and he looks up and he grabs hold of this and he freezes. And the instructor says, legal question, first jump, that says, "Are you ready to skydive?" He's like this. Nothing. I thought, that's it, he's not going to do it. He goes, "Are you ready to skydive?" And he unpeels his hands like that. He looks out, he looks up, takes a breath, and he jumps back inside the plane. And I'm thinking, right, that's not going to happen, sit down. But these guys are professionals, they see this all the time, and they get him back in state, and they sort of get him all pumped up, and he's all ready to go again, and I'm watching all this unfold. Anyway, so he goes up, and he's all confident, and he gets there back to the door, and he's like, I think this is going to happen, right up until the point he looks out, and he grabs hold of the handles again and freezes. Same deal. Anyway, he goes, "Are you ready to skydive?" Right? Nothing. So I thought, that's it, sit down, it's my go. Next instructor says, "John," says, "what?" He says, "Are you ready to skydive?" And over the din of the engines, he unpeels his fingers, he looks out, and he goes, looks into the instructors, he goes, "No, no, no." This guy goes, "What was that? Go, go, go." And they throw him out. And they jump out after him. And I'm over here like this, I'm like, right? And I look at my instructors, and I'm like, "Guys, what just happened? Did you see that?" Right? And they're cool as a cucumber. They're like, "Well, yeah." I'm like, but why did they do that? I'll never forget what they said. So it's quite simple, really, You don't jump, we don't get paid. And I'll never forget the feeling. There's so many times in life where it was only going to be a one-way ticket, right? And anyway, it's my turn now. I get up there, I'm like, okay, here we go, I can do this. 12,000 feet, whoa, that's a long way down. Come on, Pete, I can do this, yeah. Okay, get in state. Here's this. Oh, yes. Okay, here we go. Right, now, ready. Oh, he says, "Are you ready to skydive?" I'm like, he's having a laugh. Like it means a damn difference, Come on, I'm ready. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, go. Whoa. Whew, okay, I'm falling. Whoa, okay, stabilize. Here we go. Right, and check altimeter. Here we go. 10,000 feet and falling. Okay, instructor 1's visual, check. Instructor 2, check. Okay, hand signal, arching more now. Instructor 2, relax. Here we go. Okay, so 7,000 feet and falling. Practice ripcord pull. Here we go. And yes, okay, for real this time. 6,000 feet locking on. This is it. Ready, 1, 2, 3, and waving off, and pull. And please open. And I went from 120 miles an hour to 15 miles an hour in 3 seconds, which actually taught me my biggest lesson of the day, which is you should never really get your straps wrong. But next minute, I'm under canopy and it's quiet and I'm floating and I come down and I make a perfect landing and it's amazing and and I'm on the ground and I wrap up my chute and I put my chute on my shoulder and I'm walking back to the hangar. And I even see the other guy. The other guy they pushed, he was there too and he had this massive smile, probably because he was alive. Never saw him again. Yeah. And as I walked into the hangar, an awareness hit me. It changed my life. I thought, hang on a minute, what just happened? Yeah. When I was in the plane, what emotions was I feeling? Fear, anxiety, overwhelm, confusion. So you never have one, they always come in groups or herd. Right? The second I stepped out of that plane, what happened? Where did the fear go? It's gone. Anxiety? Nah, I haven't got time. Confusion? No, left it in the plane. Why? I'm falling. I'm in the game, I'm doing it. I haven't got time for that dialogue. And it made me think, guys, how many times in our life have we sat inside the plane when a business opportunity came along? When there was somebody we really wanted to ask out on a date, and the green light's flashing and we're sat there. Or let me just run it through a spreadsheet one more time. Let me just go ask people that are not qualified to give me an opinion. Let me just go and resolve my fears and wait till I've got enough courage to, red light's back on, sorry, overshot the drop zone. How many times when all we ever had to do was jump? And when you get that ability to handle uncertainty and you build that muscle, there's nothing that can faze you. Because does the river of life consistently wind? Damn right it does. There's no straight lines in nature. What we think we want to have happen doesn't always happen, does it not? You see a straight line, it's man-made. You see any river from any aerial photography, regardless of topography, it's always doing this. But our left brain is conditioned, mainly in the government indoctrination camps, by thinking in straight lines. So all of a sudden, we set a goal, and we're taught that the fastest way to get to a goal is straight line, so we go here, and it's not. And there's a bend in the river, and we freak out. So we get a shovel, and we try to dig a channel through the river, right, to continue the straight line, rather than learning to get into through me and flow with the river of life, which then almost always bends us back round to where we were going to go faster. Learning how to flow with the river of life is one of the secrets to life rather than resisting life. And we never know what's going to show up. A little while back, I was tested on that because I have what we call graduation events in Earth School. I believe we're here in Earth School. And I got up one morning, there was a knock at the door, and some lawyers, very high-powered, very ruthless law firm, representing a large bully boy multinational that I won't mention the name of, as Hewlett-Packard. And were knocking on my door, suing me over a business deal that we'd done in Dubai 6-7 years before. And I'm like, what's going on? I bought $12.5 million worth of goods. I paid for it in full. I resold it for a very small margin, made a bit of money. And 6 years later, they knock on my door suing me for $17 million. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, well, we didn't know you were going to resell it. I'm like, well, you didn't tell me I couldn't. I haven't got a contract. I'm a free agent. Yeah, show me anywhere I can resell it. And how much money did you make on the $12.5 million? Because you made it, give me a break. How can you sue me for a loss? Well, that's the difference between the retail price in Walmart and how much we sold it to you at. I'm like, you guys are on crack. Anyway, after an hour or so, they pulled me aside. They froze my assets worldwide with a high court order. And after a while, they pulled me aside and says, listen, we don't really want to go to court for this. Why don't you just give us 6 figures and we'll make it all go away? I'm like, oh, now I get it. Yeah, you go get a freezing order and you want to try and extort money out of me because you're jealous I made a bit more money on the stuff that you sold me, even though you didn't give me a contract saying I could not resell it. Right? And in my nice, empathetic, best rapport moment, I was like, yeah, of course, fuck you. And never going to happen, and no judge is ever going to entertain that. And because I wasn't playing ball, a few months later, they sued me for contempt of court, or put in an application for contempt of court, essentially trying to tell the court that I'd breached the freezing order. I haven't breached the freezing order. I operated within every one of the guidelines, and I had a look at how they'd constructed their argument. I'm like, no judge is going to look at that. It'll be laughed out of court in 5 minutes. And I didn't show up very prepared, and I learned a big lesson about how the court operates. And I got there, and they sold it to the judge, and they gave me 6 months in prison as the only civil prisoner, non-criminal. Still to this day, don't have a criminal record, never been arrested, never accused of a crime. But I served 6 months in Pentonville, one of the most violent prisons in Europe. 3 deaths in 1 week was the worst week I was there. And when I lost my business, went from 53 staff to 3 staff in 3 weeks, got saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars in legal debt. And just as it was unfolding, and my girl at the time turned around and said, honey, this isn't going the way we thought it would go. And I'm like, well, no, it's not. She says, well, why is this happening? I'm like, well, in all fairness, honey, I said, I don't know, but the river of life bends. And here's what I do know. I've been very blessed over the last 20 years that millions of people around the world have benefited from my work. And the messages that I'm blessed to be able to share through standing on the shoulders of the giants that I've been able to stand on. I said, but some of the people that could probably benefit the most may never ever get to see it because they may be in somewhere like jail. If the universe wants to send me in to go help these people, let me go. Let me go do my work. And I never for 1 second had the identity of a prisoner. I walked in as a secret agent of change. And thank you. And what unfolded became pretty magical. And even down when I first went in, the first officer that saw me, that would give me my clothes, in England, they're not orange. He said, excuse me, can I ask you a question? I said, yeah. He says, are you a police officer? I'm like, no. And please don't give me that label coming in. And then I'm in the waiting room being processed in the prison, and I go to see the doctor to get the medical. And after 2 minutes of talking to the doctor, he says, excuse me, can I ask you a question? I says, yeah, sure. He says, are you undercover? I'm like, you're the second person that's asked me that. I says, what makes you think? He says, I've never seen somebody so happy on their first ever day in prison. Right? And I shared with him the thoughts as to why I thought I was there. Right? And anyway, long story short, I remember walking in the first night to my cell, and I got to see stuff I'd only ever seen in movies. And I'm with another guy whose world had fallen apart, and he was there, and we were from Bangladesh, and we were banged up together on the first few days. And I remember walking into my tiny little cell that first night, and I stopped, and I've gone, oh my God. And the guy behind me almost bumped. He says, "What? What's wrong?" I says, "Oh no." He says, "Oh my God, this is amazing. They're giving us our own meditation room with a toilet." Right? And after 3 days of being with that guy, he went from being suicidal because he was locked up on remand, not even, and later acquitted, but he'd popped into court that day expecting to just get a date for his trial, and the judge had held him on remand, which wouldn't have been so bad, but he'd spent his life savings on getting married the next day. His world had fallen apart. And when he left 2 days later, and we split wings, I went to a non-smoking wing, his last parting comment made my magic moments list. I kept a magic moments list. And he said, when I came to prison on Friday, I thought that my world had fallen apart. He says, I now know that I came to prison just to meet you. And that really reinforced my first interaction. Thank you. And yeah, didn't stop there. From there, I went and I wrote, I tried to help as many people as I could. I got a sizable portion of the prison off drugs. I stopped suicides. I delineated suicide interventions. I won a national award while I was in there for rejigging all of the different aspects of how new prisoners are taken into their mindset to help them rehabilitate and adjust. And every 2 weeks I was in there, I wrote to my senior and elite coaching clients. And it was really a case of saying, listen, guys, I don't know why I'm here, but don't worry about it. The universe has got a mission for me, and I'm going to be fine. I'm just filming the prison scene in my movie for the next 6 months. Don't worry about it. I'm on location. And I says, but what a phenomenal case study that allows me to share with you everything I've been teaching you guys for the last little while in a real case study example. And every 2 weeks I wrote, and basically showing them what was happening, how I was dealing with it, how I was getting people off drugs, my whole experience. And it's part journal, part how-to manual, part you couldn't make it up, but it was real. And when I came out 6 months later, I haven't been able to look back, my students turned around and said, listen, we've learned so much over these 11 letters, more than we've spent the last 2 years following you around the world. You have to publish these and make it available for the public. And I'm like, look, it was never meant for the public. That says, look, you have to. So anyway, last year we published it in the book, The Inside Track. And I think it went bestseller in 2 hours, Amazon #1 in 4 hours, sold to 25 countries on the first day, and it's changed the lives of pretty much everybody that's read it. And I'm very blessed on what comes out of something like that, you know. And I say to this day, it's probably one of the most incredible, inspiring, and humbling adventures I've ever had the privilege of living. Because the secret is this, guys, it never ever matters what happens to you in life. That's the story. That's just the script. What you do with what happens is everything. And I was just blessed that I got a pretty easy graduation event. I've been teaching this stuff for 20 years. If I can't do it in person, you should never listen to another word that I could say. Other people get different graduation events. Maybe a cancer diagnosis. Maybe a best friend dying in their arms. I got off light. But guess what? The Olympics is every 4 years. In Earth School, we get our graduation events consistently. It's not about trying to carve a little place out for ourselves. And what came out of that as well for me was amazing, because I decided to turn my attention, having come out, and not teach entrepreneurship as such, but now really going to do more of that work. And I look at the tribe that I work with, which is, say, business professionals, senior execs, the people that spend 10, 15 years ruining their relationship, giving up their health, distancing themselves from their kids, so hopefully they can make enough money one day to pay for their divorce, to hire a personal trainer to get their health back and buy their kids loads of shit so they love them again. I mean, is that not the game that most people play, right? And so I'm now putting together something called the Stress Proof Professional, and it's I'm launching it in a couple of weeks. And if you guys want to log on, I'll send you some information around it. Just go to stressproofprofessional.com, log in, and I'll send you some info. I'd love you guys to check it out and see what it's about. But it's really about taking people on a journey of spending their entire life chasing the white rabbit, when what we really want to be doing here is becoming the best version of ourselves that we can be, so that we can give who we are to the world from a place of power, not a place of suppression, from a place of love, not a place of fear. And at the end of the day, because life is what it is, and we're here to go and get the best out of it, the next time life offers you a challenge, the next time life offers you an opportunity, the next time something, gets in your face, stand up straight, look in the eye and smile, and jump out of the plane. I love you. Thank you.